Hey everybody, so it's me Michael. So we're into week one. I think we had a very productive session today, and I'd like to just go over some of the techniques and the workflow of creating this little blobby looking character once again, just to help refresh your brain a little bit, get you back into the swing of things. So what we have here is the character that we created earlier today in class. See, and it's rigged here. So it's got some skin weighting on the mesh, etc. Okay, I've got the joints in place. So I'm just going to back out of this a little bit. I'm going to unbind it. First, I'm just going to, I'll leave those. Yeah, I'm going to unbind skin rather than bind. There we go. So now those joints are no longer affecting the mesh. See, the eyes are still parented. I will even unparent those. Here, eyes or eye. Alright, so I'm just going to Shift P to unparent. Shift P is to unparent. So there we go. So now we just have that rig. So just to show you what we actually did, I'm going to move this out like that. Okay. So we started out, and actually, wait on. Let me put this onto a layer, and the eye as well, just so as we can make things a little bit better. There we go. Okay. So we started out with this shape here. I'll pull that back a little bit. Actually, you know what? I should be able to just zero that. There. I'll even bring it up a little bit. Alright. So, there we go. So we started out here. Well, actually, to create this is what we did. We started out with a simple cube, and I'm just going to move this to one side so we can see it. Remember, a cube. I increase the size of my cube over here in the inputs by the height. I went 10, I believe. That's right, and I got that. And then I brought this up to the ground plane. Right, so it's sitting on the grid like that, something like this. I'll move this one over a bit more. And then the first step was make sure you're in modeling, and you go mesh, smooth, boom, and you get this shape. I mesh smooth once. Now from here you need to keep that center line down the x-axis. Okay, I'm going to delete these faces here, control delete. Alright, and then it was all about generating this sort of a shape. You do not have to create exactly the same shape as this, but you do need a mouth and an area where an eye is going to go. Okay, so next up I simply came in and I extruded a face. I could even reduce this face down a little bit first if I wanted to, you know, make it a little bit easier for myself. Maybe I'd position these just a little bit better, so when I grab that face it pulls out a little bit easier. I might even drop this vertice down, so your character will be slightly different. Not a problem. So I come into my modeling toolkit and I go extrude. This will be local. I don't want local, I want to go world, so I'll click this little blue thing and then I'll pull it out and I'll scale it. Now because I've only got half the side this time, I only can really scale down. If I start scaling in, it's going to pull all that inwards. Okay, yeah, so I'll just scale it down a little bit, and I could flatten it as well if I wanted to, just with scale. I'll delete this inside one, control delete, because you know I want to, this is just one half. Okay, if I want to, I could now go to multi-cut tool, and holding control I'll add a couple of loops, one close up here where it's going to bend, a couple down here, and I'll even put one through here. Okay, maybe even one bit lower. Actually, I'll fix that later. And I'll leave that for now as well. I will put one this way, just so as I can get a bit of shape. Now, after I've added all those cuts, you really need to start editing. Edit the vertices. So it's about time you start pulling these out and rounding them. Don't leave everything square, make sure they're round. Okay, it's an organic structure that you're going for. That's really important. You might even take all of these, make sure you get nothing in the front, maybe even bring them down and in a bit to make it even rounder. Okay. Okay, good. I'm going to bring this front down like that. Maybe this one down, etc. So you just keep modeling like that until you get your base shape that you're happy with. After that, we did the mouth. So here is my mouth. I'll grab the face, and you know what? I'm going to pull this one down a bit, and this face here is my mouth. How did I do that? Extrude. Go straight into scale. Don't move anything. Scale uniformly from the center, not from the one of these, but from the center, like that. Then I deleted this. Control delete. And remember, up here, I type 0 in the X. Hit enter, straightens it up. Cool. Next up, I extruded this straight back. Extrude. This time, change from local to world, pull it back. Get rid of that face, control delete, there. Okay, now you're in a good position to start modeling the mouth. I like to put one cut straight away through the center so I can get that shape in here. The corner of the lip, remember? Get rid of those. Make sure you don't inadvertently grab those extra vertices at the back. I'm always checking that I'm accidentally grabbing. When you do a marquee selection, check. See that? You do not want to keep moving vertices around the back of your character. I might even grab all of those, whoops, and get rid of those. Marquee, control, and scale them in. Down, in a bit. That's better. Okay, fatten that lip up a bit. Bit more volume in the lip. So it's all about going through, having some fun with that. I could now, if I want to, add a multi-cut. See how it's got the loop? You need the loop. That's very important. Okay, now I could go in again and start moving these around. Create a bit of a lip. You go bigger, smaller, whatever you feel looks good. Okay, cool. So I won't spend too much time on the actual modeling. It's more about the process this time, just to show you all. So you've seen that in class, so I'm going to carry on. There we go. I will put shortly a cut straight through the top here, but first I'll do the eye, face, and I'll do another extrude. Straight away going into my scale it in. There's my eye socket. If I wanted to, I could go multi-cut and put a loop around here even. Now with an eye, you really need to do a cross. So I do a control, I'm in multi-cut, control once, control twice, like that. See that cross? Having that allows you to then move these so they're not square anymore, but round. And you want to be round. I should have checked behind. I've probably moved something then. Let me check that. Yes, I did. So get rid. Whoa. Better get rid of that. Control. Now I'd move those up. Grab these ones. Move these out. See? Making it round. Round. Okay. Important. Very important. Move them individually if you wish. Have a bit of fun. Okay. Cool. So next up, it's up to yourself. You could, if you wish to, delete these center faces. Get rid of those. Why? Because if I go Control Delete, this will allow you to put an eyeball in there. Like I mentioned today, you can put a sphere, bring your sphere up into place if you wanted to, but we also went with a different method later on. Pull it back, and you use that as a template, remember, to be able to move these vertices around, etc. You can actually use your arrow keys to move up and around like that if you can't see them. I'm going to bring this one forward now. See that? Whoops. So this is a bit more advanced modeling doing this, but you don't have to do this at all. You can just, I'm just showing you just quickly how we would go about that. You need to bring those off. So as you move forwards, this is what you're basically doing. There's really not enough topology mesh here to be able to do it too much, but this is the idea. Bring some of that back a bit. Okay, till you get the shape you really want for the eye. Better bring this one in. Okay, so that's an eye technique. Remember, I'm always modeling with number 1 on my keyboard, not number 3. Always number 1. I'm having a bit of fun here. I'm just sort of playing around a little bit here. Okay, you get the idea. You do not want them to penetrate through the mesh here. If it becomes this a bit too, how you say, restricted, then it's probably time to add another edge loop. I'd probably put an edge loop here, and then I could bring this out. Just for the purpose of this exercise, I'm not going to do that, just because of the time, and I just want to show you guys the basics. Okay, so I'll hit number 3 on my keyboard, and I'll have a look. I'm saying, oh, that's pretty good. He's looking pretty good there. Okay, now I get it. It's slightly different than this one. This is only 1 eyeball. This one here would be now 2. If I go to number 1, and I select my whole character, and I do that mesh mirror, this is what he'd be looking like. Control D, looking something like that now, see? Okay, you get the idea. So start modeling, have fun with it, make sure you flatten it out around the base, etc. Okay, and then when you're happy with it, then it's time to move on to the next step, which was adding those joints. Okay, so just for the purposes, I will delete that, and I will come into here and turn on those joints so we can see. Here were the joints. How did I create those? Well, I went into my right or my front, probably the right viewport's much better actually, and I went into rigging, and you go, whoops, rigging, and inside rigging, skeleton, create joints, and then you start creating your joint chain. I tend to hold shift, this way it does it straight up. Maybe you don't want to, maybe you want your joints to go something like this. If I hold X, it'll snap to the grid. Then I might put the one on a slight angle if it's supposed to be like this. Okay, like that might be a spine. This will be the head, and I'll name this one my root. Just for now I'll call it joint, so it's not the same as the other one, and you need to go up through and name each of them. Okay, next up you go skeleton again, create joints, and you'll create the tail. I might go here, boink, 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 enter. Name these. This might be tail 1, tail 2, tail 3, etc. Next up, you need to parent this tail to your root. Shift select the root and go P on your keyboard. It's now parented. Okay. After this, make sure it's in the correct position, of course, not out here. You'll be doing that all inside here. And when you do that, make sure you turn on this one, so as you can see the actual joints, X-ray joints it's called. This way you can actually see them inside here. If I turn it off, see they're invisible. Now they're visible. Make sure that's on. And wireframe on shaded. See that? Wireframe on shaded, X-ray joints. Okay, cool. After that, you'll be creating the controls. Create, NURBS primitives, circle. Like what we did. So I can now go into my perspective to be able to view things, scale them up. This would have been the master control. Put that into position. Once you're happy with the position, maybe you've right-clicked it, control vertex if you want to change the shape, etc. Control vertex. I just right-clicked and went control vertex. Something like this, see, etc. And then F8 to get out of it. Like that. Name it master controller. Okay. And then with every control, you need to freeze the transforms. Modify. Freeze transforms. Boom. Okay. Very important. I believe inside rigging there's a freeze along here. I think there's a freeze transform button for you too. Here's the joints, by the way. Create joints, it's right there. If you want to click on rigging, you can create joints through here. It's a quicker method. Okay, quick rig, no. Paint skin weights is right there. Blend shapes. Oh, freeze might not be in there. I thought it was. Anyway, let's carry on. Okay, there we go. So we freeze the transforms. They're all zeroed out. And then, of course, you would create more controls. So you just go again, create NURBS, circle, put it into position wherever it's supposed to be, etc. Remember, it's a good idea to snap them. You can snap them by holding V on your keyboard. Watch this. I'll snap it to this one, holding V, victory, and snap. This way it snaps directly to the center of it. You could rotate it and then freeze the transforms, etc. And then ultimately you'll want this to move this one. So you don't just parent that to this, remember, you've got to use a constraint. So we select the control first, then you shift select the joint. Then you go constrain, either parent. Parent I don't think is going to rotate it. We'll try it this time. I normally use an orient constraint up here rather than the parent. I'll try it and we'll see what we get. Rotate. Oh, it does rotate. Okay, use a parent constraint, because parent constraints also lets you move and it'll go with it. Straight out parent constraint. Okay, cool. I'll do the same. I will now constrain this to that one. So opposite. Select this first. Shift select my root. Constrain parent. Now when I move this, it all moves with it. Now you notice that one control is not. This is not. Why is that? Because it's simply not parented in to this group. You might have arms or leg controls. Make sure they're all parented to one another up through the system. So I'll just grab this and shift select this and just hit P. A normal parent is fine. Like that. So now it all moves together. Okay. You can also test these to make sure that they scale, etc. if you wanted to. Okay, great. So that's in a box how you do that. I will now get rid of that, get rid of these, and I'm going to come in here, and the next step was to show you, remember, regarding the skinning. Just before I skin this, I just got to make sure I got enough edge topology, faces, etc. I'm going to add a few more in my modeling toolbox, multi-cut. I'm just going to add one here and one through here and one right down the bottom here. And I really want to do a little bit more modeling here to fix this first, of course. It's a bit of a mess. You know, ideally you do not want to have joints like this sitting outside your mesh. All your joints need to sit inside the mesh. Very important. Don't have that. Okay, so make sure everything is properly positioned. So bare minimum, get them inside. Now, of course, I've just gone and created this whole new character. Notice how I keep accidentally grabbing the mesh. Turn it off. Up here. Turn it off. So as I won't keep grabbing it. Now I can pull these in a bit. Grab this one, pull it in, pull this in. Make sure it's inside. Now it's inside my mesh. Better. Okay. Might even drag this one down a bit. I'm using my arrow keys to go up through some of these. Makes it a bit quicker. Drop this down a bit even. Center it. Bring this one up a bit. Okay. Something like that. So, remember, we're now ready to... I better turn this one on now because I want to grab the mesh. I better delete the history. Alt-Shift-D. No history. Grab the root of the joint. Shift select the mesh. And we go skin, bind skin. Options. Make sure edit reset. I tend to go to number 4 with this is enough, and bind skin. Now you can probably test it. You can grab one of these joints and just rotate it. It works. Okay. This one, there we go. Next up, select the mesh, right click, paint skin weights tool. Go through your list, looking at your joints if you wish, or up here, and then paint the weights reflectively. Replace is always 0. Get rid of it. Reduce the value. I do not want the value. Get rid of that. 0 for replace. 0 value. Now, I'm also going to have to quickly paint the next one up, maybe. That one. Reduce that as well to 0. And you just go around painting it, reducing, adding if you wish. If I wanted to add some value, maybe to the top of the head, I could go add. Now you need to add a value because you're painting, you're adding some paint to your paintbrush. You need to add something, and then it turns whiter. See that? Alright, you can add value. And then go around, paint it when you're really happy with it. Ultimately, what you want to do is I go smooth and I can tap flood, 1, 2, 3. But be careful, you can start adding it to areas where you don't want it. And then get out of that tool by hitting W and test it. That's better. Okay, cool. So that was where we got to. Check it out, I got 3 eyes. If you wanted to, you could parent your eyes into one of these joints or to the control and then see how it goes. Okay guys, thanks for watching, and I look forward to catching up in class next week. If you have any questions, feel free to message me. Okay, thanks for watching.